that note, I am going to say that we are now joined in the studio by our environment correspondent, David Gregory-Kumar. I'm going to try not to fall over on my way to join him.
That was heated.
On the high stools, yes. Actually, well, this is interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of the stuff we're talking about future policy is going to be in the government's agriculture bill.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is there's this big shift in subsidy. That's the key thing, I think. So we've seen, rather than being paid for the area you're farming, you're going to be paid in return for public goods. It's not really clear what that means, sort of livestock health, nice greeny environmental stuff. What worries farmers, I think, is those who've looked further ahead, is if you shift your business model to account for these subsidies, which are important, if the government changes its mind further down the line, you'll be left with a business model that doesn't work, and you won't have any other way of sort of generating that cash you need if the subsidy sort of disappears.
Yeah. Now, what you have actually been doing this week is talking less about kind of policy and that kind of thing, and looking what you individually can do to cut your carbon footprint.
There's a big climate assembly starting in Birmingham with people all over the UK starting this weekend. So this is something we've been experimenting with. I've been challenged to reduce my carbon footprint all week. This is the climax. This was one of the options, eating insects.
I'm not sure about eating insects. Now, I'm going to I'm going to say I have actually done this before.
Plenty of people eat insects.
I did this I was going to say in Mexico they have them quite a lot as a bar snack.
So this was one idea. I don't have a car and I use green energy. So why does everyone do that? So I have quite a low carbon footprint already. Could insect flour, insect protein make a difference? Possibly, but I couldn't really stick with it, to be honest. And that was the key, finding decisions that engage people on a personal level, and that's what our carbon guru said was important, getting out there and making changes. This is Professor David Mond from the University of Warwick.
Because you may well feel bicycling in my town is horrible and dangerous. So if you want to bicycle, you've got to do something about that. You can't just say, well, that's the conditions I'm presented with and I'm going to accept it and I'm going to keep on driving. What you can do is say, no, I'm going to join a group that will press for more bicycle lanes. And you will discover lots of other people who want to share this kind of activity with you and who will embrace you with comradely fervour.
I'm still embracing the
insect.
Lovely. One thing that everyone's talking about at the moment is going veganuary.
Yeah.
Did you try that?
So this is all about shrinking my personal footprint and what works for me. Because if you can make a change that sticks, obviously long term that's better for shrinking your carbon footprint. I really like meat. But I also went to talk to some experts. Now this is a beef farmer, Adam Quinney. He's also from AHDB in Warwickshire, and they've looked at this very issue.
I'll give you an example. If you became vegan tomorrow, in this coming year, you'd reduce your carbon emissions by about 0.5 tonne a year. Flying across the Atlantic is about 1.5 tonnes.
In other words, one trip away, one holiday abroad, and I've wiped out any gains I've made. So some of the things I found out, my asthma inhaler, there is a greener version, that could make a big difference. Almost 4% of NHS emissions, carbon emissions, are from asthma inhalers.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so talk to your GP first, but that's a change a lot of us asthmatics could be making. Meat, not so much.
Is there any implication for health in those? I mean,
no, they're not suitable for everyone, but it's a switch I think I can make, and it will make a big difference. So I was quite pleased with that.
Okay, and how about on the sofa? Ellie, I know you drive an electric car, don't you?
I do. I'm part of a carpool. I have been driving a fossil-fuelled car, but I'm getting rid of it next week, and I'm determined to only drive electric in the carpool from now on. Use a bicycle when I go back to my job at the University of Birmingham. Use my bike to get to the station.
Would you fancy an insect?
I have actually. I'm veggie, and I try and eat vegan as much as possible. But I have actually in the past tried. Insect flour biscuits and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine. Anything that helps people. I mean, on the kind of diet versus flying thing, I think that's a really important point. But the truth is the majority of people don't fly across the Atlantic once a year.
But they probably fly to Spain, don't they?
Yeah, and that's going to be enough to wipe out any vegan gains. I was thinking, my asthma inhaler is equivalent to going vegan, and frankly, that was a change I thought I could make personally.
Yeah, I'm asthmatic too, so I'm going to check that out with you afterwards. But I think, individual behaviour change is really important. Transport's a key part of that. Diet's a key part of that. But actually, we need system change for the country as a whole, for global society as a whole, whether that's transport systems or the way we support agriculture, to help people do the right thing. And that's what I hope the Climate Assembly is going to help the country do.
Okay, and Abby, I mean, have you made any personal changes to your lifestyle in the last few years?
I think probably like everybody else, trying to use less plastic water bottles, trying to take your own drinks with you rather than perhaps nipping into some of the handily placed coffee shops that want to give you a disposable cup, or indeed taking your own cup instead. I think that's quite an easy thing to do, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if you've got a good memory, I have a metal water bottle, but I do find it quite hard to remember to take my coffee cup into various high street coffee chains, it has to be said. Nina, what kind of changes have you made in your
Well,
own?
I've given up red meat.
Have you? Okay, interesting.
I can hear farmers.
David actually
Farmers are
went-
like watching this, going, "Oh, it's about 7% of emissions."
I accept, but I think you all have to contribute and do your bit.
Yeah,
and
that's
so, you know, carrying around a coffee cup, I always have one. I also have my own water bottle. So you do little steps that will contribute. And of course, after 31st of January, I'll stop flying. So might be a good thing.
That's one green. That's sort of one
Because I won't be
positive.
going to Brussels.
Yeah,
So-
I've been doing it by train all the time.
Well, I
think
think
Ellie
you've
is
done the
the
maths, depending on what I
for
can
what we
do.
need to do here.
So-
And Gisela, how about you? I mean, is it going to be easier or harder to reduce your carbon footprint when we leave the EU?
I think leaving the EU will make no difference, but I think what is really important, I mean, I get terribly teased for having a wormery compost in the flat in London. Because,
In the flat?
Because it's outside on the
right,
balcony
okay,
a
not
bit,
in-
because
not in
I have this obsession with compost heaps. But much more importantly, I think we need to do policy change and individual change hand in hand. Because in my years as MP, what I always found is that everybody was terribly articulate of what they thought other people should do differently. And you had to go and say, no, what are you going to do differently? And I think unless the individual change fits in with the political pattern change, I think we won't get out of these little niche things of that one thing alone will help, because this is really big structural and fundamental change, the way we believe and live.
Ellie, Greta Thunberg was saying this week that there's a lot of talk, obviously, you know, being vegan has become trendy, but there isn't enough actual action. I mean, is that your feeling as well?
I think Greta Thunberg's been absolutely right in saying not enough is being done, nowhere near enough is being done. So individual people changing their diet, yeah, but if we've still got an agricultural system that's essentially industrialised agriculture, massive overproduction of meat, then, you know, we're going in the wrong direction. If we're taking a reusable water bottle but still flying every week, that's not going in the right direction. So I think she's done a brilliant job, in fact, of kind of waking people up. You know, the movement that she's sparked off kind of accidentally has grown so massively over the last year. And it's been really interesting working in the European Parliament, because I've seen the way that kind of green wave of concern over climate has pushed all of the parties to start to talk about this, to take it on board. Just last week, we had a vote in the Parliament on the Green Deal at European level, which is going to be a really big push for more renewable energy, away from polluting transport systems and so forth. And
we'll have to decide whether to mirror that here. And I suppose, David, just very quickly, that's true, isn't it? There does, after the personal stuff, there does have to be some policy stuff here.
Yeah, and it's boring stuff. It's about boilers and insulation, how we heat our homes. How we heat our homes is equivalent to the transport sector in terms of emissions, and we just don't really talk about that yet. We need government to take an interest in that.
It's not quite as sexy, is it? Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks, David. And that's all we have time for this week. Thank you to all of my guests. We'll be back at the same time next Sunday, post-Brexit. See you then. Have a good rest of your Sunday.